Rogue Media Sports.
Boy, that excitement is bubbling up. It is another week of the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network, here inside the Colt Brennan Memorial Studio, where we bring it to you 5 days a week, live on YouTube, starting 11 a.m. Central Time. And then, Zach, what is so great about it is even if you don't catch it live, you can watch it on YouTube later.
Mm-hmm. It's always there at your fingertips.
Fascinating. I told Mike today I was created for YouTube. In reality, Mike's wife texted him saying we were created for YouTube. It ended up being a spelling error. I said, not for me. I was created for YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. We are recapping a Patriots loss for the first time in, 8.5 months. The Patriots went 8.5 months without losing a football game. The Jets, they went a week without losing a football game. That's the matchup on Thursday, by the way. Thursday night football. I get to listen to 3 straight hours of Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit hating each other while watching my own team play. I'm excited about that. I am excited about that. Zach, you had a good football weekend. I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it was a win. It wasn't the best. I thought
your Texas Longhorns now number one in the country.
No.
They are number one.
They are number one. I did see that. After I guess Quinn Ewers exited with an injury, so we got to see Arch Manning in full effect. And
he's already taken the world by storm. Everyone already has him as the number one pick in 26. Arch Manning.
Seems
a good game. He had a good game. He had a 67-yard touchdown run, which I think is more than like any of the 3 Mannings that played in the NFL, probably more than any of their rushing touchdowns combined. I don't think they got to 67 yards in their touchdowns. I didn't know how to look that up, so I didn't.
I am looking right now.
All right, that might be
Peyton ran for one that was 33 yards.
No way. Does it say when?
November 4th, 2001, in a Week 8 victory against the Buffalo Bills.
Buffalo. How does that guy get 33 yards? Anyway, I don't want to get too bogged down into that.
All right.
I do want to talk about the Patriots' loss. That was almost a victory. Some might even say a moral victory. I won't, but some might. They lose in overtime to Seattle, 23-20. And it was a game the Patriots more or less lost in the margins. I say more or less. I'll tell you what I mean in a second. But I didn't think we'd be saying this early in the season that they kind of lost the game in the margins there. They had a bad play on special teams. They had a kick blocked after being excellent on special teams last week. They had terrible clock management at the end of both halves that kind of went under the radar. They ended up losing 3 points there. They didn't have a lot of penalties, but they had 1 or 2 costly penalties. And so I'm like, man, they were there. They had it where they wanted it, so to speak. They were up in the fourth quarter, late in the fourth quarter. They lose in overtime to a Seattle team that was almost a playoff team last year, has the makings of being a playoff team this year. And I mean, not much more than that, but they're a decent football team over there. And the Patriots lose it in overtime. Now, I say they lost it in the margins, Zach, but really it was beyond that. Because losing in the margins would say, they had the talent to compete there. And they really didn't. They had something of the game plan. They had the grit. They had some toughness. But you can't win a game in the National Football League when your wide receivers only catch 3 passes for 19 yards for the whole game. You cannot win in the NFL doing that. There's no way you can. In the second half of that game, the Patriots passed for 32 yards. You cannot do that. I don't know how much, how else I could say that. 32 passing yards in the second half. And if you're looking at the team's wide receiver core, the Seahawks wide receivers had 282 yards and a touchdown. The Patriots wide receivers had 19 yards. And to me, that is the difference in the game. Geno Smith, fine quarterback. Fine. He's made a couple Pro Bowls. It's been watered down pretty bad the last few years for the quarterback position, especially. But in reality, is he that much different from Jacoby Brissett? Like, not really. I mean, he was just kicking around as a jag. He's a league average quarterback. He can't do anything really special with his legs. He's not winning games for you by himself. He's a good conservative quarterback, which is exactly what Jacoby Brissett is. The difference is they have 3 Pro Bowl / All-Pro caliber wide receivers, and the Patriots do not. The Seahawks have Jackson Smith and Jigba. They have DK Metcalf, and they have Tyler Lockett, who's been one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL the last decade. The Patriots have Jalen Polk, who caught his first career touchdown pass yesterday, first quarter, touchdown catch, and the Patriots wide receivers do not have another catch until the final minute of the fourth quarter. That's the difference. I don't even know if Tyquan Thornton showed up to the stadium yesterday. Nothing for Pop Douglas. We hear about how good and shifty he is. We have seen it in some short bursts, and yet there's still no package for him. 2 years ago, there was a hell of an offensive package for Marcus Jones, and he was barely an offensive player. He was like making touchdowns in 2022. And yet you have a guy who is a bona fide slot receiver extraordinaire, and there's no plays in the playbook for him. And really, I think what it comes down to, because I don't want to get this twisted with the next thing I'm going to say. The Patriots do not have NFL wide receiver talent on the whole. They don't. They've shown that the last couple of years. They're showing it again this year. But then there is also the issue of this offensive line, which obviously was very much criticized throughout the preseason. And I look back at a lot of those plays in that Patriots game and just thinking, how much could Jacoby Brissett even do? Like, you look at these numbers, 32 yards passing in the second half, 5.5 yards per attempt in the game. And so you would point to that and say, well, the quarterback sucks. And I'm like, so I don't even think so. I don't even think so. The quarterback isn't very good, but like there's not a conducive environment to him being good. How many of these were just jailbreak plays that he had to dump it off to his running backs, to his tight ends, because the receivers don't even have time enough to get open? Jalen Polk last week against Cincinnati was one of like the most open receivers in the NFL, according to PFF. But the quarterback, it doesn't matter when he doesn't have the time to get it down there. And to some degree, I've been impressed by Jacoby Brissett in the first 2 weeks because he's kind of made some plays without a pocket. He didn't have a pocket all of yesterday. And the Patriots offensive line has been a little bit better than I thought because he isn't getting sacked all the time, but he did not have clean pockets yesterday. And you were hanging your hat on a deal for Chuks Okorafor, who was a reject in Pittsburgh and was so bad on the first series against Cincinnati, they benched him. And a week after that, he's like, quit football. He walked out on the team entirely. He just quit. And to the point where we were saying, man, Vidarian Lowe, that's a good guy to have at left tackle. To the point where yesterday, Vidarian Lowe gets hurt in overtime, and I'm thinking, shit, man. There goes your starting left tackle. Damn, because Vidarian Lowe's been okay. He's been okay. Caden Wallace comes in and costly penalty. It's too bad. Because they didn't have any of those in week 1. They were stealing points, I thought, in week 1 and giving away points in week 2. But yeah, a key play is that 3rd and 1 in overtime. Caden Wallace, was he ineligible downfield? Is that what it was? or illegal formation. Illegal formation. This is an eligible receiver not covered up. And there you go. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 6. This team with this passing offense really can't overcome that in money downs where the game is on the line. They can't do that. But really, I thought the mistakes the Patriots made that they couldn't afford were at the end of both halves. Their clock management was terrible. They get the ball with like 2 minutes to go, just under the 2-minute warning, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of the first half. And they really should be running a 2-minute offense. And they're kind of not from the beginning. They run one play, and between, getting the ball and that second snap, about a minute runs off the clock, including about 20 to 25 seconds from the end of the play to the next snap on second down. And here on second down, we're under a minute to go in the half. They're way backed up in their own territory, and they're going empty. And it's 2 incompletions in a row. And then you give the ball back to Seattle. Like, why not just run the clock out at that point? You've already ran a minute off the clock. You've ran half the time off the clock that you have remaining. Like, just run it at that point. Instead, they don't. They give Seattle the ball at midfield with 40 seconds left and all of their timeouts. Seattle does what an NFL team does. They go down, they kick a field goal. That's a big difference in the game. In fact, it is the difference in the game. You lost by 3 points in overtime. Shit clock management. Complete shit clock management. And then, in the fourth quarter, it seems like the tide is turning to something we had not seen in 2023. Because this is the sequence. Antonio Gibson gets a handoff. He slips in the backfield. They lose like 3 yards. Oh, oy vey, man. That's a 2023 play. The next play, they pitch it out to Antonio Gibson. And there is a Seahawks defender just waiting for him, man. They're going to wrap him up for a loss of 4 yards. This is about 10 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And instead, he shakes the tackle and gets a 45-yard play out of it, sets you up in field goal range inside Seattle's 25-yard line. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, finally, because this would have been a loss of 4 in 2023. You would have been punting again, probably would have had a penalty before that. You would have been in like a 4th and 20. And instead, this this is the small difference between 23 and 24. It's not a huge talent difference, obviously. Just look at the receiver stats. But these little minute details that the Patriots were losing games the last few years, this might be the minute details turning in their direction that towards winning games. And then a few plays later, it's like 3rd and 6. And Jacoby Brissett takes a sack. It's not completely catastrophic, but you're losing like 6 yards of field position here for a rookie kicker in a really important moment in the game. You're up 20-17. You've taken a good bit of time off the clock. You really, after that momentum of the Gibson run, you're thinking touchdown and make this 2 scores and essentially put this game away. Instead, you settle for a field goal. Okay, a field goal is going to put you up 6. At least you're going to make Seattle drive the length of the field and score a touchdown. Nope. Blocked kick, 3-point game, and you are hanging on, or at least trying to hang on. Special teams mistake, which has happened the last few years. Austin Hooper is at the end of the line trying to block. Typically, the Patriots will throw like their tallest guy out there at the end of the line, or guys with big wingspans. Gronk used to do it. I remember like Dietrich Wise used to do it. And like it doesn't matter because on the other end, I think was Keon White. So it doesn't matter that they're defensive linemen. Like you just need wingspan guys out there. Instead, you put out Austin Hooper, and it becomes a special teams mistake. Blocked field goal. Seattle goes down the field. You're lucky to get a stop on them because it looked like they were going to march into the end zone, and they kick a game-tying field goal to send this thing into overtime. That's the sequence right there. You stall out. You take a sack when you really shouldn't have, And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what if this backs them out of true field goal range for a rookie kicker? And it didn't matter because the kick didn't even get up in the air. It was blocked because you didn't get that right either. So that to me is where the tables turn, because Seattle gets it with 4 minutes left. You have to stop them on 3rd and 1. Again, good Patriot stop there, and it does force to a field goal. Force a game-tying field goal instead of a game-winning touchdown. But the Patriots did not deserve to win that game, even though they played well for a good portion of it. So those little mistakes are what I'm thinking in terms of losing in the margins, which is the way you'll look at it if you watch the game. Because, again, the Patriots played well for what they have for most of the game. But what they don't have is going to be the difference in a lot of games this year. They don't have NFL caliber wide receivers. They have a jag quarterback. They have a bad offensive line. Not as bad as what we thought it was going to be, but a pretty bad offensive line. And the reason they won game 1 was winning with the little things. And the reason they lost game 2, you could argue, is losing with the little things. But in week 1 against Cincinnati, their leading receiver had 31 yards. And it was Austin Hooper. And I came on here saying, like, that's probably not good enough most of the time, but the defense played extremely well. And the defense, I don't think, had a great first half, but overall, they played pretty well. You held a team to 20 points. Usually that's going to win you games in this league. Usually. But with this offense, it doesn't. Hunter Henry was terrific in the first half. And it got me to thinking, like, that first half offense, I'm watching a cricket about to go into my open backpack. That's all right, Zach. I got it. This is good for the show. I can't let that.
Cam's gone and picked up the backpack. He has closed it. And he's back.
I was hoping for your first half thoughts there, Zach.
I didn't.
The first half of the Patriots game.
I didn't watch the Patriots.
Which I almost missed the first couple minutes, inexplicably, because I, for some reason, thought the game was at 3.
Was it in Seattle?
Audience. No, it was at home.
Okay.
It was at home, but I mistook that. 3:00 Central Time, obviously. But in the first half, the way they were moving the ball was fine. It was obviously a lot of tight ends. It was not wide receivers. And I was thinking, this is how the offense should have looked early in Mac Jones's Patriots days. And it kind of did. And even in 2022, like, this is how it should have looked. And with a better quarterback, and it just never did. It was quick jailbreak plays. It was establishing the run, which they absolutely did. It was finding tight ends in short intermediate routes, and working with the fact that you don't have a lot of time to throw and that you have some good pass catching tight ends. Unfortunately, a little too much of that. I was once again wholly impressed by the 2023 draft class. I'm going to talk about that in the next segment, as well as the fact that because this was a dismal offensive performance yesterday, does that accelerate the timetable for Drake Maye? Because I think the answer from me might surprise you. That's coming up on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. now that I've been cussed out by Pete Souza, who will be on in segment 3, I guess it's time to continue with the Cam Show on Rogue Media Sports Network. I have been singing the praises of Keon White and Christian Gonzalez in the first 2 weeks, and I will continue to do so, especially Christian Gonzalez. So weird first quarter because he's on DK Metcalf, and DK Metcalf scores a 56-yard touchdown. It was not his fault. It was not Christian Gonzalez's fault. You'd see the replay. He just blows right past Gonzalez and wide open, 20 yards down the field. It's the easiest touchdown he's ever scored. And you're like, what the hell happened there? Well, clearly Christian Gonzalez is in zone coverage after they had played man the first drive and a half or so. And he is supposed to be getting safety help over the top. He does not get it. So we're going to take that out of the equation here because this is the official stats. When Gonzalez was the primary defender on DK Metcalf in man coverage, 7 targets, only 3 catches allowed for 24 yards. And Kyle Duggar, after the game, by the way, the safety said, yes, that was my fault on the touchdown. 3 catches on 7 targets for one of the best receivers in the league and 24 yards allowed to one of the best receivers in the league. So let's add it to the kill shelf again because Gonzalez has now played 5.5 games. 5.5 games in the NFL. And he has already gone up against in man coverage one-on-one. And he has already gone up against A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, Jamar Chase, DK Metcalf. You might have heard of these guys. Against those matchups, in those matchups, he is allowed 17 catches for 148 total yards. 7 of the best receivers in the National Football League, and he has allowed 17 catches for 148 total yards. That is incredible. That is incredible. This kid is special. And I hope it doesn't get wasted. I hope it's not like Darrelle Revis's years with the Jets. Although he did make a couple conference championship games. I hope this does not get wasted. And I hope they're building a team around him, so to speak. And Keon White, who had another sack yesterday. He's incredible. But this segment is about Drake Maye. Because I saw a lot of discourse about this after the Patriots lose a winnable game against Seattle. Is it now time for Drake Maye? I mean, look at what this quarterback was doing out here yesterday. They passed for 32 yards in the second half. How can it not be time for Drake Maye? We're sick of seeing this. My take? I don't think this accelerates Drake Maye's timetable. I know that might sound like a take after yesterday and after what I was saying in the preseason about needing Drake Maye to start sooner rather than later. I don't think this game does much to it. So I talked about in the first segment. Jacoby Brissett made some plays. And if you watch that game, you probably agree with me. But saying that Jacoby Brissett made some plays with the plays he was actually making is, again, more indicative of the rest of his team and specifically the offensive line. He made some plays because there was no pocket. And he made something happen. This offensive line still does not look good. Less solid than it did in week 1. And what you saw in week 1 and for most of this game against Seattle is there's a formula there. Is it sustainable towards winning 10 games in the NFL? Of course not. Of course not. But the Patriots were not going to win 10 games this year, no matter what. But you can win a couple of games until, you've got a playbook sorted out and this kid is ready to get in there and face the complex defenses that an NFL defensive coordinator is going to throw at him, inevitably. But right now, you have a luxury where you have a defense that is good enough to keep you in games, a running game that is good enough to keep you in some games until Drake Maye is actually ready. Because Zach, you remember, I was freaking out when they announced that it was going to be Jacoby Brissett as the starting quarterback week 1.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, it doesn't get you anywhere. Why not just throw the kid out there? And I'm not saying they're going to go anywhere with this now. So now I'm looking at it from kind of, I guess, a glass half full of, well, you're not going anywhere anyway. Why throw him out there to the Wolves? Like, if he's not ready, because we know the team is not ready.
Mm-hmm.
But it's now, of course, if he is not ready, especially from what I'm seeing the first 2 weeks from, I don't know, Caleb Williams and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels a little bit better. Like, I'm not saying those guys are busts, but like, that's what we're talking about. Rookie quarterbacks early in their careers. And for the Patriots in my generation, the only one we really have to compare it to is Mac Jones. And Mac Jones succeeded early in his career because he had a defense that was very good, similar to the one the Patriots have right now. And he had something of weapons. I mean, the wide receiver room wasn't great, but it did have Jacoby Myers in it. I'd take Jacoby Myers in a heartbeat right now. In any of the last 3 years, I would have taken him. And you had a legit offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels, one of the best of his generation. And those are luxuries that Drake Maye does not have. He does not have NFL wide receivers yet. He doesn't have an NFL offensive line. And he has a first-time, real, true offensive coordinator. So even after that shit performance from the Patriots offense that elicits 3 catches from their wide receivers for 19 yards on the day, I'm not ready to just say, oh, fuck it, this is done. Throw Drake Maye out there on a short week for Thursday Night Football against the Jets. No way. I did say initially week 4 would be the week because you're coming on a long week, from Thursday Night Football to the next Sunday. But honestly, I'm okay with waiting half the season at this point. If you wait 8 games into the season, this team might win 3. They might. There's something there. But I'm saying we're not in a position that you need to rush Drake Maye because the product out there is just so unwatchably bad. It's not yet. So even despite that offensive performance, I'm not ready to go out there and say, this is enough of this. You've got to put the kid in there. Really what I want to get to, Zach, is we're talking about football. I want to talk about some Italian football. I sent you a little picture, which is hilarious to me. I'm going to put some background to this. So in Europe, and Italy is the example here, the teams they cater much more to their fans. Okay. Their fan base controls a lot of, they make owners sell the team, stuff like that. And after poor performances, teams will literally face their supporters, let their supporters just let it out. Okay. Flip them off, yell shit at them, give constructive criticism, ask them how their day is, any of that. They will let that happen. It comes with a win. They always clap their supporters. And after a bad loss, typically, you are allowed to go up to the supporters and let them kind of let loose. Now, I think Cagliari is how you say it. I actually don't know that. I know my Serie A, but I guess I don't. Cagliari lost 4-0 to Napoli. And do we have the picture? It might be
Give
tough.
me just one sec. Yeah, I'm working on
doing
this.
videos. They lost 4-0. Terrible loss at home. And they go up to their fans to, again, let them kind of let loose after them. And this does not... this is everyone, okay? This is players. These are coaches. And even Pulley, who is the Cagliari mascot. And so you have... By the way, mascots are not very popular in European soccer, but most teams have them now. That was very much an American thing that went over to Europe. And so you have these Italian ultras just yelling all kinds of shit at these players who just have to sit there and take it. And in the back of this line is a giant pink flamingo in a Cagliari shirt and a little fucking hat on, just taking this abuse from the fans. It is an unbelievable visual. If we don't get it, it's okay, Zach, because it is all over Twitter. I'm sure the people might have seen it, but he's just standing there. Just taking all kinds of abuse from these pretty intense Italian fans. I had to get that in there. I thought that was very funny. It was a rare funny tweet from this weekend that actually got me in a good mood. It really did. And you know what? Since we got time here before Pete, I'm going to talk about another one real quick that did piss me off.
It's not the best, but you can see it.
Oh,
It's
you can see it
covering
now.
you right
The
now.
pink flamingo.
Yeah.
Pink flamingo just taking all kinds of shit, standing there like a true team guy. He could be taking pictures with kids at the other side of the stadium, but he's not. He's like, I am a team player, okay, and I will treat this as such.
I think that is the best part, is that it's the flamingo just towering over everybody else out there.
Oh man, I love it. I absolutely love that pink flamingo. Shout out to Pulley. Pulley is our winner of the weekend. Our loser of the weekend is a great maniac, by the way, and a guy whose work I very much like, and that is Stephen King. Okay, so I'm sure you saw this, Zach. So Trump tweeted he hates Taylor Swift, and it becomes this massive fucking deal for some reason. She said she was voting for Kamala Harris. Of course, Trump, like, we know Trump by now. If you don't like him, he doesn't like you. Like, okay, whatever. This is just like a petty thing. But Stephen King, always a barrel of laughs, okay? He's always bringing the humor to this. A very funny tweet. I love Taylor Swift. Her music makes me happy. End of story. By golly, did Stephen King just fucking save America with that tweet? What a fucking weird, like, what are we doing, dude? What are you accomplishing by that tweet? No one fucking cares. No one fucking cares if Taylor Swift's song makes you happy, Stephen King. What are you, like 70 years old? Oh, she makes me happy. What a fucking loser. What is this country? What is this country? I was talking about this tweet to Mike. And by the way, I am seriously so down the middle politically. That's why I don't ever get political. I really don't give a shit. But I was talking about this to Mike. I am the youngest in my family. Okay. And I think that's how I relate to some of these ultra political people. And I'll use the libs as the example here, but it is conservatives too. Of like, I had to learn from a young age. My parents would tell me all the time, if you don't react to what your older siblings are doing, they won't do it anymore. They want the reaction out of you. I use that in life all the time. And it's crazy how many of these people still let just everything get to them. A guy who's running for president says he hates a pop singer. And Stephen King's like, I have to do this. I have to comment on this. One of the great writers, American writers of the last 100 years, is like, I need to craft a tweet. I like Taylor Swift. She makes me happy. End of story. Period. Send tweet. That's going to change something. It's both ends of the aisle, but they just can't let fucking anything go. Now this is becoming a culture war because he doesn't like Taylor Swift. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit who does and does not like Taylor Swift? Oh, it's so fucking weird, man. This is so weird. Like, that's a bigger story than the guy getting shot at again. Like, it's so bizarre. It is so bizarre. And again, conservatives will use it on the other end of the aisle as well. It's fun. They pretend to like Kid Rock because he's conservative. They pretend to like Ted Nugent. And by the way, Stephen King is probably fucking pretending to like Taylor Swift. Can I get a rundown of Stephen King's favorite Taylor Swift songs? Did he go and see her on the Eras tour? Has Taylor Swift read a single Stephen King book? The answer to all of these things are no, even if it's not a yes/no answer. Like, oh, these people that just think they're making a difference with these tweets. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares. Go write another masterpiece and 10 other dog shit books that go along with it. Come on. Stephen King. God damn, I like Stephen King. Why am I doing this? Why is he doing this? Man. And it's okay. The Shining book and the Shining movie are both great. Okay? Even if the movie strays a little bit from the book, which Stephen King has been bitching about for 45 years, they're both really good.
They need to explain why people are wearing masks before you see the first mask. That's all I'm saying.
The what?
Towards the end of the movie, you know, the little kid where he's like running through and the bedroom door opens.
Yes,
and there's
that is. I think that's a great one-off scene, though. Nobody knows what's happening in it.
That's true. If you read the book, you do. But in the movie, you're like, what?
And there's a miniseries, I think, that came out in the 90s that's more to the book. I got to watch that. But anyway, Stephen King, just like chill out. Chill out. Because he doesn't like Taylor Swift, that will have zero fucking effect on the election. Just shut up. Like, stop feeding into this. You are feeding this monster. It's like a fucking Black Mirror episode. Who killed the Kennedys? All of us. Stephen King is feeding right into this. He's Stephen King saying that shit. He's never going to stop. And you don't want him to stop. I know you don't. Deep down, you don't want him to stop. Ugh. Pete Souza's next. We're going to talk about Liev Schreiber, man. Suddenly he's like the sex symbol of Netflix. We're going to talk about that next on the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. Pete Souza, get political,
dude. Your last segment was amazing. I mean, it was scary, but it was amazing.
They're gonna come after me.
I mean, look, it's really hard to talk about politics, and I'm not looking to do anything like that right now.
I don't want to get into like nuanced politics.
No,
it's just like.
But there's
it pisses me off.
It affects. There's a societal impact, even when we're talking about sports or music or.
I mean,
so
the same. I mean, we just talked about this off air, but it's like Republicans were like taking a victory lap yesterday because Harrison Butker hit the game-winning field goal for the Chiefs. And it's like, we're rallying around a fucking kicker because he says women shouldn't work. Like, what are we doing? Like, what?
We affiliate people.
The same thing happened with conservatives with Jaron Duran, the Red Sox player last month.
Yeah.
When he said the F slur. And like people were like buying his jersey. I'm like, this is not like a free speech victory. Like he said something he shouldn't have said in 2024. Like you don't just get away with that. Like that's not a free speech thing. I don't know.
No, anyway. You shouldn't. But to what you're saying, you certainly shouldn't get a bump.
That's the thing. Like, if you want to say like, okay, the kid made a mistake. I don't think he's actually homophobic, which is kind of the way I was. I was like, he shouldn't have said that, but he's going to get punished for it. And that's the way life works. But he's not like this martyr now. He's not a hero because he did that. That's fucking wild.
That is insane.
And so that stuff you see a lot from the conservative side. And then you like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit if Trump hates Taylor Swift? Who fucking cares? Anyway, I want to talk about a show in a minute, but are you trying to make a statement here with this t-shirt today?
No, it's one. So this is one. No, I was actually leaving the house.
They got the Baylor this week.
I was leaving the house. I had a collared shirt on, and it was like I was told to kind of change. But so
I was told to change.
I was just like, it was just kind of like, you're wearing that today for your, because I had a meeting at home earlier online. Anyways, I was like,
yeah, you should wear a collared shirt in this studio. Like you should.
I like to wear a collared shirt in the studio, but I was told to change, so I changed. It was put on one of your cool sports t-shirts. And this is one of my favorite teams of all time. Okay, so real quick, you want to talk about like dudes talking about dudes or however
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric Bieniemy, Darian Hagan, Salinesi had just passed away.
Man. Yeah.
I mean, so you know the story.
Son,
Jeff Campbell.
By the way, Salinesi's son is a coach for the Patriots. T.C. McCartney. You know that story? So he had a kid.
Oh, I know that. Yeah,
had a kid with.
I did not know his son
with Bill McCartney's daughter. Yeah, so the kid played at LSU because one of McCartney's assistants at CU was Les Miles.
Okay, I did know that.
So
yeah,
I think
I did not know
Les Miles
kid
went
played
to
at LSU. I totally.
Yeah, I mean, I think it. Yeah, I don't know.
I totally whiffed on that. But that story was, I was so into sports television and the way it was presented to me on TV. And Jim Nantz and gosh, who was calling the game with him? I can't remember right now. I will. Jim Nantz and was calling the Illinois-Colorado game in Boulder. It was the year Salinesi would die a few weeks later.
Like 89? Is that right? 89?
89. And John Malkovich was the coach of Illinois, of course, McCartney, Colorado. And they just did an amazing job of like with that CBS college football music and Ralphie storming out onto the field to a montage. And then they tell you the story. I mean, as a kid in 8th grade or 7th grade or 6th grade, I didn't know the story about Salinesi.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We got 4 channels. And you know, like, so all of a sudden I'm presented with, here's this guy, he's up in the skybox. He's going to die any day now. His team is going to dedicate the season to him. And oh, by the way, they came out and opened up a can of whoop ass on Illinois. And they're running the triple option. Yeah. Jeff Campbell's catching a 60-yard catch. He's pointing at Salinesi, who's pointing back. I was so in on these dudes. And so they became my favorite team. I liked, I liked Miami too.
Of course you did.
Well, you're from the Northeast.
You're from the Northeast.
We didn't have any.
You do have kind of free reign.
We didn't have.
Which pisses me off now because there's a lot of kids I went to high school with who have just chosen teams.
We didn't have any. And
you should see how many Georgia and Texas fans there are. I went to high school with all of a sudden.
I know that's
like it does. It bugs me.
So, but yeah, I love this team. I was like literally cried myself to sleep when they lost the Orange Bowl that year to Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next year they won, which was amazing. I've since been lucky enough. I don't think he believes me and I don't want to get weird, but I've called college football games with Chad Brown, who I used to love Chad Brown, still do. You want to see a killer who doesn't get credit for how good they were? Chad Brown was a killer. Like when he was playing for the Seahawks,
sore subject today.
He would just murder murder people. And of course with the Steelers.
I can't wait to cut this into clips. You want to see a killer? He murdered people. Just murdered people. And when Pete gets, caught up in something,
You
I'll
got
just
me
bring
going
that to the
about
booth.
this Colorado team. So no, it's got nothing to do with Deion.
So I'm not gonna, because I know we'll talk about this throughout the week, and there's something else I want to talk about, but I just went nuclear a little bit on Stephen King.
Yeah.
I fucking hate this Deion Sanders Colorado thing. I hate it.
Why?
I'm sick of the guy is a jerk. He's a fucking dick, and he is using this as a place to prop up his son, the quarterback, who is a very good quarterback, by the way. It's not like he's a bum and he's just getting this chance because Deion's the coach, but this is a vehicle for him to prop up his son.
I don't think so.
And I'm sick of their shit.
I
and I want Baylor to beat the piss out of them on Saturday.
I totally disagree.
They won't.
I think it's neat. I think it's neat for Baylor. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so pumped about this game.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
All right.
But I thought this was a show. I started watching last night. I thought it was a show that Mike recommended. But it turns out it was Pete Souza who said this is a good show. And it's very popular, The Perfect Couple on Netflix. And I've watched an episode and a half. The story is just good enough. And I just I'm at the point in football season where I don't read at all. I don't decompress by reading. I can't. I'm working till, 7, 8 p.m. at night. And so the only thing I do is just throw on some mindless dog shit TV or a football game I don't care about. And that's how I decompress. So I will end up watching more of this. But it's Nicole Kidman. It's Liev Schreiber. And my main gripe is how they try to make it out like Liev Schreiber is like the most fuckable man on the planet Earth.
Oh, I look.
Like that, am I wrong? There's a whole 2-minute scene. If everyone, it's a classic, almost Scooby-Doo shit. We just do everyone's witness interview, and boy, how eclectic are these characters? The sister-in-law who's kind of a bitch and is in an unhappy marriage, and the maid who thinks she is part of the elite class, like the family she serves, and the really eccentrically gay wedding planner, and it's and the French chain smoking friend who's also very elitist.
Do you know what I thought?
What
took you so long? I've been waiting for another show like this since White Lotus. And it's not as good as
I think it is what it's supposed to be.
It's not as good as White Lotus, but it's of the same air, right? And
I couldn't really get into White Lotus.
I love
was
White
too distracted
Lotus.
by Sydney.
This show is it's a stepchild of White Lotus. It's not as thoughtful. It's just not as good, but it's still a lot of fun.
But at its core, what it's going for is unique place.
Yes.
Very rich, unrelatable people that also have family problems. I mean, how many times have we seen that? You've seen that show Bloodline? Remember that one? It's the same thing.
You growing up, and I was lucky. I grew up, my parents overextended for a house they couldn't afford it. And by doing so, I grew up in one of the nicer places in America, like the main line right outside, like Philly, right?
Nice.
We could never really run with the big dogs, but I went to Catholic high school. Anyways, I know a million douchebags who are just like the people on this show.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question about it. Some of them I called friends and still do to this day. But you get around where I grew up, some of those high schools like Haverford School, Episcopal, Baldwin. I mean, all these people, I'm telling you, Shipley, it's all, and I'm not saying all those people are douchebags, but there is.
So Grace's family is very rich. Okay.
Yes. So
they are not like this. I'm so thankful for that. Both her
Yes.
parents did not grow up rich. They're pretty down to earth. I mean, they went to private school.
Yeah.
They went to school with Jay Billis's kids, Daniel Jones. They're of kind of that crowd, but they're not like that. And I'm so thankful for that. There are still times where I'm very uncomfortable. I'm just very fancy restaurant and my clothes aren't as nice as everyone else's. And I don't know how to read the menu. There's some times like that.
Yeah.
But they do have some family friends that I think could fit into this show.
Yes.
That I've seen adjacent at parties, and the kid in it. So the groom in the show, by the way, Like none of them are American outside of Liev Schreiber, which is fine.
Don't get me started on the acting situation and problem, the lack of depth we have in America as far as at the acting position. We can just say to make it sport. It's a real shame, dude.
Because there's been crap TV for so long, probably.
I don't know what it's about. Honestly, I just know that
usually British people are really good. British actors are really good at being American and not vice versa. Historically, never vice versa, right? But
these actors from Britain,
this kid,
England,
the groom, man,
they are kicking our ass. And good for
this
them.
kid doesn't sound American at all, Pete.
Oh, the husband?
At all. No, the kid. The guy who's going to be married, the groom, who's the son in this scenario. Like not even trying to sound American.
Yeah.
And the bride, who's Bono's daughter, is fine. She's great. And she's like as hot as an Irish girl can get.
Isn't
talk about the front porch on her. Man. They show that early enough.
Is she American or no? Did she grow up in America?
No, I don't think so.
She didn't. Okay.
I think she grew up Irish. See, I mean, obviously plenty of American exposure.
But I believed, I was of the belief that she maybe grew up in like
the way like Phil Collins' daughter did.
I don't, New York. Like I had
she's
no
from
idea.
Easton, Pennsylvania, is what they say in the show. Like I felt, I related
you know Easton,
to that.
That's a swipe.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah,
I bet. So like I mean, my town.
Hey, Easton makes a nice baseball bat, dude. We've all played with those aluminum.
Sure do, man.
Yeah.
My town does not have any name recognition, and it is a fucking shithole. I love it, but it is a shithole. So I felt that when they said that. I'm like, I know people who have thought that. Like
about you.
Okay, quick story, because this fits in. So one of my friends from college, he was a couple years older. He was a grad student it was a weird thing. So my roommate knew his best friend. It was this kid's brother. So we were all kind of friends, right? And he is from Texas, went to A&M, went to Baylor grad school. He ends up marrying a girl from a town that's not far from my hometown, from Rockland. But it's a really nice town. And Rockland obviously is very much not. And we did the rehearsal dinner, and the bride is introducing me to her mom, and she's like, "Oh, Cam's from Rockland." And the mom's like, "Oh, that's nice." And like that was it. And I was like, man, I have seen that look and heard that tone hundreds of times in my life. And I know, like, to the point where I know she's not even like, she doesn't even really mean it that bad, but I've heard it so many times. And that's what I felt watching the show. But like, I don't know. It's weird. They do a dance number in there for the theme.
Yeah, it's just, you get used to that. It's completely like throw it away. It's like an intro song to Growing Pains. That's all that is. Like, that's all that is. It's
and like, of course, we're just song. Like, it's like the caricature thing of it all. Like I just mentioned with the witnesses being questioned, and wouldn't you know, Nicole Kidman is such a bitch because she is the matriarch of this rich family. Oh, and the loser brother is such an asshole too, and he doesn't really like the bride because she's from the wrong side of the tracks. You know, no one else in the family but the mom and the brother actually care, and clearly they're going to collude on something later. And it's just and he's got a stake in this because he's running out of money. He's kind of the failure child, and the dad won't even give him a loan. In fact, he gives him a pretty biting commentary as to why he's not going to give him a loan. And it's just like, is there, Pete, have you seen the whole thing?
I wrapped it up last night.
Okay. Does it get more nuanced? Or is it just going to be paint by numbers?
It does. If you're looking for something that's super nuanced, you've come to the wrong place.
We talked about The Sopranos last week. We both love The
Sopranos. And by the way,
and I think I've done myself a disservice by watching that relatively early in my life.
You mentioned Scooby-Doo. Like, the ending is a bit of like,
Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's a lot of fun though. I'm telling you, for me, it was at least, and I would recommend it to anybody with my same intelligence level, which is sort of broad and kind of shallow. I will, but back to Schreiber. Okay.
Yes.
I've known
normal looking guy. By the way.
No, he's not. Okay. First of all, have you seen Ray Donovan?
No, I don't.
Okay. I
don't really rate Liev Schreiber as an actor.
So okay.
Great narrator.
Until
HBO
you've
Sports
seen
the 20th century.
you've probably seen Scream 3, right? And that's your
No.
experience with Schreiber as an actor.
No.
Okay, that's part of your problem.
Spotlight.
So Spotlight, he was great.
It's fine. Yeah.
And let me tell you, he is in Ray Donovan. Now, again, it's a caricature, right, of a real human being, this Ray Donovan guy, but he's such a stud in that show. He's the baddest dude on the planet. Girls love him. He gets stuff done. And so it's the same deal. And he's from the projects, I think Southie. It's the same deal.
He's Boston again.
Yeah, it's the same deal in this show in a sense where he's not so much like a rough around the edges type guy, but he's got that like that BDE, as women say. He doesn't care about anything. The most unattractive part about him in the show, which you've probably already been able to take away, is that like the marijuana is like an appendage for him, and to the point where it's like, dude, like he
Smokes a lot. Yeah.
he's smoking all the time to the point where it's like, is this guy all right? Like the
He
drinking
must be dealing with something.
the drinking is obviously a lot, but I've known dudes like him, like who grew up like around where I grew up, like
Which, by the way, can I interrupt for a second?
who kill it and chicks love.
I would love to be like him. Fucking rich as shit and just smoking pot all day. Yes, I would like to be like him. But they have made him out to be this just like
He has got honestly what they call if the kids call it Riz. That's what
Sure.
that's what this character
You've
has.
already mentioned Riz and Big Dick Energy today.
He is he is not jumping out from the pages of GQ magazine or wherever you find
It feels like like Tony Soprano's the same way, right? But he's cool and he's always the smartest guy in the room and he's always the most powerful guy.
Yeah.
And I have not felt that ooze from
No, and you won't get it.
Tag,
You won't
as
get
he
it
is known.
because the more you get to know the guy,
named
the more,
after a body spray, this character.
the more you know him, you get to see more of his flaws, right?
I'd like to see more of Bono's daughter.
You do. You see a lot of her. She's great. And the girl,
She
Merritt,
went to the University of Miami.
The-
Miami University in Ohio.
the girl Merritt in the show, she was also on White Lotus. So it makes it easy to make the White Lotus connection.
Should I keep watching it, Pete?
I think so. Yeah. Does Grace watching it?
I don't think so. No.
Well, that's it's totally something you watch with your partner, like that you guys can both watch.
then
Like
I would have to wait a couple months, so I'm not doing that.
just watch it. It's fun. It's quick. I enjoyed it.
I guess, man. I don't know. I don't have anything else going on. I was watching the fucking Music Man on Friday night, so I need something.
Can we talk a little bit about Baylor
right now?
Yeah, I mean it's your show, so that's fine. We can talk about.
I mean,
something
they
else.
won and they got a new quarterback. This is the quarterback.
Yeah, we'll talk about it on my show.
I know you like talking college on your show. I was gonna wait for your show.
We can for sure do it then. Yeah, I have all
And
kinds of
the
thoughts.
comeback of Mo Bamba, the song.
Oh,
Played at
did they
Baylor
play
Athletic
that?
Events. Yeah. First time in over 5 years.
Now, do you want to
that
hear
it's been played
something?
at
I
Baylor
love that
Athletics
I'm free
Events.
to
Yeah, real
talk.
quick.
I'm free to talk about this now. Okay, when I was at KWTX,
Ooh, this is good. We're
they
holding
were-
on to this.
they were playing Mo Bamba, right?
Uh-huh.
At the Baylor games.
How
Baylor
long?
football.
When did you start at KWTX? Real quick.
2017.
Okay.
So I guess this is 2018.
This would have been the last football year they would have
Yeah.
done it. Yep.
And so they're playing Mo Bamba, and apparently they were playing Mo Bamba at sorority parties too.
They were.
And
Yep.
at the sorority parties, they were singing Mo Bamba, like they were Instagram video
accurately.
It
That's
be-
why they stopped playing it. That's
it
why they banned it.
became a story. So Rissa Shaw, who was like if you had a best reporter that was a pit bull at KWTX, it was Rissa Shaw or John Carroll.
Sure.
Forgive me if I'm forgetting
Lifers.
anyone else, but
Yeah.
those are the two that jump out of me. I mean, there's the Julie Hayes, who's like the icon, but these are reporters on the street. Rissa did a story about how Baylor sororities were singing the real lyrics of Mo Bamba and how it was a major issue. Clutch your pearls, everybody. A bunch of young college girls are singing a rap. I was like, so we're doing this story. I couldn't.
That's what led to this, by the way. That's what led to the banning of Mo Bamba.
So the song Mo Bamba. So I had to, by the way, anchor the news by myself the night after Rissa did the story, and we led our morning show with it. So I'm like at this video screen, like, here you see the young ladies at Baylor singing Mo Bamba. It's like, and I'm like,
And would you listen closely?
I mean, it's like, thank God, getting out of local news. What a release. I mean, to actually do that and to act like you might have even thought that a little bit was really, really, it was
Let
like
you
I
actually
needed a shower.
care about that? Yeah.
Yeah,
That,
it's a
like
bummer.
you're breaking your moral
Like,
compass.
can I please say, like, this is ridiculous. It's not, I sat in my room as a kid and sang every lyric from the Straight Outta Compton song.
So did I.
And
I mean,
like,
we've all done it. Like,
so whatever. So yes,
you know,
I didn't know that.
like,
that,
should you be doing that when you're singing in public?
No.
If you're doing karaoke, no,
Yeah.
of course not.
But it
But
was,
yeah,
it's a sorority party. It is what it is, folks. And so the fact that that was like the worst thing in the world, I couldn't get behind.
Say la vie, say the old folks. Goes to show you never can tell. That's
Yeah.
Pete Souza. He's on at 1:00. I will be joining him at the end of that before I go into my favorite coaches shows of the week, which you guys don't give a shit about. That is the Cam Show, powered by Rogue Media Sports Network. We'll see you right back here, 11 a.m. Central Time on YouTube. And then afterwards, wherever you get your podcast, be sure to like, subscribe, comment all the things you hate about me. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. on the Cam Show.